Okay, so this is Protocol Pad. It enables researchers to record their workflows from a specific manuscript within protocols, and each protocol will pertain to one specific study design. So you log onto the interface, this is the landing page, and you'll only see protocols that pertain to the research projects that you're a part of or a collaborator on. And you can select a protocol based on status or set the status of protocols. Sometimes you're waiting for analysts or data to come in. So you could put the research, the protocol on hold, or you could say it's in progress. So we have a button here on the left, on the right-hand side that says set status. So you just choose which protocol you want to set the status for. And then you can sort by protocol status, for example, in progress. And then also select your protocol. So you can either go here to select or this tab, and you can look at the specifications. So this is a published study that's already done. You can see an overview, useful links, and input for the planned study. This is where you're editing the study design. So you're saying what you intend to do for the protocol itself. And then you have protocol sections. So these roughly correspond to methods section, subheadings, so distinct tasks within the manuscript itself. You probably want to assign just one person per task. So I'm adding right now a property on each protocol section that's main author. So you can select who is the main author of the section and who's going to be working on it. Once you've designed your protocol, you move on to protocol in development. And again, these same sections show up and they correspond to the order and number of sections that are in protocol design. And you have a electronic lab notebook that you can record your progress, define new sections. I've added in now a section for N3C resources, so you can record which concept set versions you use that are input for this specific part of your protocol, knowledge store items, training modules. So this also will be useful for enabling us to identify indirect contributors to studies within N3C. And then you have a to-do list, which is basically just a checklist for you to be able to see as you perform your work. Right now, you can reorder protocol sections. So you may have had made a mistake in the order of your sections here. You can actually reorder using this list right now. So say if you want study design, but then you want to switch the order of final statistical analysis and validation, you want validation to occur before. So this is fine when, sorry, there's one more. You have to select the number of sections. This is fine when the number of sections remains small. But if you're, especially if you're going to be creating a section per collaborator, or different collaborators are going to be working on different sections, you'll end up with quite a few sections. So you see here it's reordered. There is a functionality of drag and drop. So we're going to be implementing new functionality that's taking objects, these are protocol section objects, and being able to just drag and drop them into like an ordered list. And that's probably within the next month or two, it's going to be made available within this workshop app. So this will be a lot more easy to use and easy to rearrange when that gets released to workshop. So this is the workshop app that this interface is made within. With the final protocol, so once you've done all your development on your protocol, this is the section to record. what are the final results of your protocol? So what did your research study to answer these specific scientific questions produce? And so you have, again, an overview. What was the final output? Was it different to what you'd initially intended for the study? Input data sets and output. Information about the sections. You see that I've redesigned this this view on the overview, input and output for sections, so it's easier to read. And also you're going to have final figures for export. So I've just changed this to final figures because I think within a Notepad document, so Notepad is a replacement for reports, which is currently in the enclave, to enable embedding of figures and table previews. I think it's most ideal for figures. So I actually changed this template. Instead of saying final figures and tables, it now will say final figures when you create these documents anew. It will draw from the protocol object and pre-fill this information at the top for you. You can paste in your final figures and tables, or from the electronic lab notebooks contained within the protocol development, or you can add them, for example, by saying code workbook chart, insert, and then you go and select which code workbook you want to draw from, the branch and the board from the code workbook. So these are under development, these other sections, but final tables for export. So we're going to have not only final figures and then a link to the data download request form, but final tables for export. So things that would be your main text tables and your supplementary tables would be listed here. And then again, we'll have a button for create data download. Final tables for N3C, so I split this into separate tasks, which we'll be able to fill in with a list of tables. And these would be tables for the data catalog and say knowledge store data sets that you might have created from your protocol that you want to be made available to N3C, and it works for users of N3C, but it doesn't necessarily make sense to include in your manuscript. And we got a section for variable dictionary for N3C. So potentially the knowledge objects that you use as input for protocol sections could also be output. So say you define a variable in this section, you could potentially be using it as input for this section. So a single variable could potentially be input and output within the same protocol. That's fine to record as both types, so input and output, but also any other output variable that you produce or concept set can be recorded in this section. So anything that's output for a protocol will be recorded here. You might have a multi-node template that spans multiple protocol sections. So it pertains really to the protocol as a whole rather than a protocol section. And these would be documented on this left-hand side, the ones that pertain to specific protocol sections. So the variables or knowledge objects or code sets that are the output from protocol sections will be listed here, and you'll be able to add them. We also have a approved data download request. So this is a request from the publication committee to enable a view on what the final data download requests were that pertain to a particular study, and they should be corresponding to the final figures and tables that you'll have here. And then manuscripts, you can record what manuscripts are in preparation or published from this protocol. We still need to implement a manuscript object in the enclave to be able to do this, but we're thinking through what that object should look like, what properties it should have, how it's going to be linked to the publication committee process as well. And finally, contributor list. So who contributed to the work? details of their contribution start date and end date, what their role was. And as I said before, this information here of the N3C resources used as input to the tasks of the protocol, we can draw the author information from those and populate indirect contributors. So that's still in progress, so that anyone who has contributed any kind of variable or knowledge object that the protocol then uses should be automatically acknowledged, and an email sent to them saying, declare your contributions as manuscript. And also it can be kind of verified that the manuscript itself is including those contributions. So yeah, this is capturing everything that is the input and output and design and development of a research study within N3C all in one place. For me, I'm already trying out on some of my projects, and it really helps to define specific tasks that you need to perform for your research study, and then assign specific people to them. So yeah, any questions on how the interface works, or any comments, any other ideas of features that are required?
You show them the feedback button.
So
We have a little.
So we're laughing because
we have an. I keep on asking this, but all kidding aside, we have thoughts about how this could be used or should be used, but we really want to hear from you, those of you who want to dive in and take this. Yeah, we have a couple of documents. The more detailed document seems to be out of date, but the essence is correct. Can you go back to this section for a second? Go to one of the pages that has a bunch of sections on the left.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that we're thinking is, number one, one is that maybe make that hierarchical, like in OneNote, so that you can talk about study design and population section and then have subtasks. But
this is exactly what I was thinking today. Yeah, and I think, right. Was it Steve, you had mentioned also that it would be good to have multiple researchers' notebooks within the same overall task for the different researchers to work on.
But I think relevant to this group in particular is, I'm hopeful that we can get to the point of creating section templates. So if it says, define COVID cohort, your expertise in what the minimum resources are that should be consulted can be put into that template. So when people pull in the template, they have a kind of default pathway to follow. So even if it's not a code workbook template in the sense of these are the detailed, Python instructions, they're given something of a pathway to doing the work. So I think that's something important that this and the Wednesday group can be thinking about. So as a random example, how do we define PASC? How do we define, what's a PASC outcome? What's a PASC population? So those considerations, I think, can go into a template of a section rather than just a code workbook.
Mm-hmm. And potentially that can go into the knowledge store. So templates or protocol sections to perform specific tasks that may include multiple knowledge objects within it.